Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are, whatever you're doing, and welcome to another episode of the Daily Red for Anfield Index. This is not a podcast about the latest going on in America with planes and presidential addresses. This is not a latest podcast about all the nonsense that goes on in the UK. This is a podcast about the Reds, who are 9 points clear in the Premier League, and to the rest of the Premier League, mind the gap, because it's a bit dangerous there at the same time. And here to join me to discuss Liverpool, the Bournemouth game, everything positive at the moment, is Grizz Khan. Grizz, it's just a brilliant time to be a Red, isn't it, mate?
Yeah, it's we have this we have sections of the fan base that obviously are scarred and have a bit of PTSD and sort of kind of just are awaiting a bad spell or us to fall off or Man City to go on a 15-game winning run or Arsenal as well. But every weekend we're getting a step closer and closer. And every weekend, these mighty Reds, every time we demand or ask or request humbly to have a weekend where we put a statement out. We asked for one against Forest. We nearly got it. We asked for one. Let's do the professional job at Ipswich at home. We done the professional job at home. Then Brentford away. Let's put a statement out. And yesterday, Dave, I think the rest of the world, I say the world, but the rest of the Premier League, especially that team from North London, had this fixture circled as one of the ones where they were banking on us to drop points. And I thought it was monumental. An absolute monumental win, Dave.
Yeah, good word. That's the word for the day, innit? On Sunday, monumental. It was a great performance. We had to ride some bits at times, so we will get into it. And as ever, join us, throw your comments in. The super chat, as Gaz likes to call it, is live as well. So feel free to throw any of those in, and we will endeavour to share all your comments and answer all the questions. I mean, as we say, we are 9 points clear at the top. It was hard fought. And if you any doubt it was hard fought, let's hear what Arne Slot had to say afterwards about it.
Arne, Bournemouth playing so well of late, such a good record here. What was the key to overcoming them today?
Work just as hard as them. The reason why this team is so successful, and the same it can be said about us, is because both teams have quality, but both teams work incredibly hard. And that's also what I saw today from both teams. So it was a fight from the first to the last second.
Yeah, there was no sort of garbage time or easy control throughout. The first half was good, don't get me wrong, Grizz, but this was a hard-fought win of champions, this, wasn't it?
Yeah, it's one of those games where you always speak about matching the work rate and the desire of the opposition. Yeah. And then you're hoping that the talent does the talking. And of course, they've got talented players, and we may touch on a few, but we know we have got more. So the probability of our talented players making the difference is very high, especially and only if you match the work rate. Yeah. And my God, we did. I found it a very focused, and I was quietly confident. People that watched Chat G&G, I think we done it on a Friday this week. We done it on a Friday, and I predicted 2-0, and he was like, "Are you sure they're not going to score?" And I was like, "I'm very confident of us sort of asserting ourselves." And I thought, we get into the game, but I thought it was very, very assertive, very focused, and it all starts, Dave, from our captain, our leader, our rock at the back, Virgil van Dijk.
Yeah, there's literally so many good player performances, and we've got to get into them. And you're right, it's about those players that make the difference. That was what really shone through yesterday, because they are an impressive team. They do work so hard under Iraola. So few players, and listen, you've got to start with the King Grizz as well, Mo Salah. I mean, just those stats, 6th in the all-time list. I mean, just 20 goals. We're almost run out of superlatives week on week, but he was the ultimate difference here, wasn't he?
Yeah, he was. Like, this is it. When you have that many players and they had chances, we had chances, We didn't take some, they didn't take some.
Mm,
But then this is the difference between a very good player and an elite level player.
yeah.
And we talk about his penalty, and I'm one of those that still covers my eyes whenever he steps up to take a penalty. I don't know why. It's just a habit now. But I do cover my eyes. And then the second chance falls for him, and he hasn't scored those in a little while. He used to score them quite regularly. We see the one against Everton, Roma, I think one against Chelsea. He scored quite a few like that, and it was poetry in motion. I mean, it was just so beautifully caressed. There's a clip going around on the socials. People need to check it out on X. There's a clip going around where a Bournemouth fan kind of envisages this, and he manages to catch it on film. And as the move is being set, and as Salah is setting to do that, he says, "Oh my God, he's going to finesse it, isn't he? He's going to finesse it." They kind of knew what was coming next. Beautiful. And as you said, he's the difference maker. He's the king, and there's a reason why he's got that record. And I wouldn't put it past him to end up fourth by the end of the season. I mean, that will be huge. And I'm going to use that word again. That would be monumental.
Yeah, really. I wouldn't even want to put a bet on where Salah will end up in terms of his goals and assist total, but he is absolutely frightening at the moment. And yeah, we'll get on to the longer term slightly later. Now, it may or may not have gone unnoticed. I have worn my PGL MOL tracksuit top. Now, this is important because I think it's important we come out in defence of them for Arsenal fans. Arsenal fans, you may not be fully aware, I'm not completely sure, because Darren England didn't give that Luis Diaz goal at Tottenham a couple of years ago, we actually had a credit in the bank. So for all your conspiracies, you may or may not be aware, we were allowed to cash that in, and we choose to cash it in yesterday for a cheap penalty. So just in case you're wondering about conspiracies, maybe that clears it up for you a little bit. But Grizz, honestly, it's a penalty. It's a foul, isn't it?
We've watched, or since then, we've watched maybe hundreds of replays. We've listened to probably tons or tens of commentators, pundits, ex-players. And help me out here, guys. I don't think anyone of any note or credibility, and I'm not including, with all due respect to people on X, I'm not talking about people on X, I'm talking about pundits, players, referees, coaches. I don't think anyone has said that's not a penalty. In fact, I've just tweeted a clip of the said player involved, the one who's the perpetrator, the one who made the tackle or whatever you want to call it. He whispers to his teammate, it was a foul, to be honest, but so he's admitted it. The opening line, very clearly. You don't need to be a sign language expert or what's the word? Lip reading expert, I beg your pardon. You'd have to be a lip reading expert to know that he's admitted it was a foul, to be honest. But yet, we have Arsenal fans up and down the country, all around the world, in an absolute rage and a head loss. My God, I wish they showed that much energy and support behind their team and not leave with 15 minutes to go when you're 1-1, or was it 2-2 they were with their Aston Villa and we saw empty seats. Support your team, back your team. Stop moaning and groaning after every single decision. Stop explaining everything. Why have you got an explanation for everything? Stop it. Focus on your team, focus on your players, support your team.
Yeah, as Arch says there, I didn't watch the game. Arsenal seem to be losing their heads. They do. They seem to think there's a big conspiracy, and there is no conspiracy. But I would just like to say hello to Jared Gillett, who I know is a mad Liverpool fan at the PGMOL, and he'll be watching and obviously reffing our game next. So yeah, keep up the good work, PGMOL. And speaking of people keeping up the good work, Grizz, I mean, Ryan Gravenberch yesterday. There's a few, you'll probably seen it, little montages. I mean, you couldn't get the ball off this guy in a phone box, could you?
Jeez, man. Oh, I don't know what to say about this guy. He had a little bit of a low, and everyone was like, oh, and automatically everyone starts thinking, oh, if only we bought a midfielder, if only, it's tiring actually, to be honest with you, sometimes. listening to all these shouts because he went through a rough patch for about a month at max.
Yeah.
And when I say rough patch, to the standards that he showed in the first couple of months, few months, right? But I think he's come back flying colours. I think that little bit of rest, like we spoke about, where he didn't play for about 10 days, was it, or something? And then maybe another week where he played for only one game a week. And then he was substituted early. I think he's got back to his best. And yesterday, and I know we may come on to man of the match and other nominees, and we've spoken about the main nominee, which was Mohamed Salah. But for me, I think Gravenberch was probably the man of the match. Not only was it his on the ball qualities and talent and levels, but his off the ball work and the intelligence he showed in covering Trent, or helping Trent, I should say, not covering, but just helping Trent against the mad, crazy, energetic Kirkes, and obviously the very dangerous Semenyo. I thought he was fantastic, Dave. His touch, his poise, his control, his ability to take the ball under pressure. He's strong and he's showing his strength now. He's physical and he's showing his physicality now. He's playing like a 6'2" player now, 6'3". Questions have been asked about, well, he's got the height and physique, but he doesn't put himself about. He puts himself about now, and I love it. I don't mind the odd yellow card, cynical foul, call it what you want. He even went down a couple of times where he bought time. Absolutely love it. Dark hearts combined with talent, you can't go wrong.
Yeah, you're right. That physicality. I mean, as that tweet says there, won the most tackles, 4, won the most duels, 9. He was everywhere, even with the quality, the 93% pass completion. And yeah, he's getting a lot of love in there. And LFC Mad makes a good point, because Arne Slot mentioned this. He did slightly alter his role, as you said, Grizz, just to deal with Kirkes and his energy and everything that he brings.
You know what, Dave? That 93 pass completion is very impressive. And the reason why that's very impressive is because Bournemouth played very good. And their two midfielders were very, very industrious and good. Christie and Tyler Adams were very energetic, put loads of effort, sprints and presses in. And to be able to complete 93% pass completion is some going in that hotbed of a midfield it was yesterday. It was very competitive. I think Bournemouth on any other day beat probably every other team in the league on that day, because they didn't play bad. They were very good, in fact. We were just better. We were just more composed. And in the end, our leaders, our big boys, stood up and were counted.
Yeah, it did feel like it was a game for the ultimate elite players. And he's maybe taken a little bit of time to come back to that elite level. But Grizz, I mean, Alisson yesterday, there is 2 saves that are just out this world, isn't there?
Again, another one that, you know what social fan medias are like, or social media fans are like. Sometimes they need the slightest of drops in performances for them to say, right, that's him finished. No wonder we brought in Mamadashvili.
Yeah.
And look, we know Alisson does take a few games to get back into rhythm after a long layoff. He's a big fella. There's a lot of him. It takes a few games for him to warm up. I thought yesterday he was again match winner, big time players, and I hate this notion and idea we were lucky because Alisson saved them. No, we are lucky to have Alisson in our team because Alisson is part of our team, and he's a goalkeeper. If you didn't know, and if you didn't know, goalkeeper's primary job is to save goals. So if Alisson saved goals for Liverpool, that's not luck. That's part of the game. So again, we weren't lucky. We've just got Alisson in goal, who's one of the greatest goalkeepers the Premier League's ever seen. And you're spot on. Those match-winning saves, they're match-changing saves, I should say. Because we don't know how the game would have changed if Semenyo scores after 10 minutes, was it, into the second half, where he plays a lovely 1-2 reverse pass from, I can't remember who, and he's clean through. Brilliant. And then there's a deflection, double deflection, the one that you're referring to, goes down to his right. Yeah, he's just a sensational keeper. Some people didn't quite get the context of what I meant about when the other turning point where Kluivert misses that chance.
Yeah.
And what I meant to say, and it's always good to be able to come on a screen and explain a tweet as opposed to sort of just words. What I meant was Allison has this effect on forwards and attackers where they feel they have to be so precise and
Yeah.
accurate when they finish because they think otherwise, anything otherwise will be saved. And that's just in the mindset. Now, I know Clive has got history of missing like something like that because there's a mad example of him missing an identical chance. But all strikers, and even maybe all attackers and forwards, when they're faced with this monster, they think they have to do something extra, extra different, extra precise. And that puts a doubt in their head and their mind. And long may it continue.
Yeah, it just that double deflection. I think it was Bradley. It comes off in the air. He almost reaches it under his body behind him. And you're right. He is a big fella. He likes his barbecue, and it takes him a few games, but he is well and truly back. And Arj is asking there, a bit worried about Trent if he needs scans. We're waiting to see it. The update from Arne Slot afterwards is he has to come off. It looks like his quads at the same time. I mean, we're just hoping it's not too long, aren't we, Grizz, for this one?
Yeah, of course we are. It's concerning. Hopefully it's not too serious. From reading, and obviously this is very dangerous territory when you start reading body language and sort of reading between the lines and the commentators, the coach and the sort of the coach's comments in the press conference. It doesn't seem too serious. He didn't come across too concerned. And the fact that sort of Trent has a couple of times recognized he's injured. Even the last injury where he pulled up himself and he wasn't out for too long, was it? Was it about a month? I think it was about 4 weeks. Well, obviously 4 weeks will be damaging right now in this busy period. But I'd like to think it's a matter of weeks, few weeks, hopefully. And obviously this is just pure guessing, absolutely pure guessing. But if it's something like a quad strain, then that's usually like up to about 10 days. And like he said, we've got, the thing is, the fixtures fall quite kindly for us. I think we have 12 days. Am I right or am I wrong? Before Everton. And that's what
it's Carabao, then Plymouth, isn't it? So there is a bit of time.
So there is a bit of time, 10 or 12 days. And we hope and we pray that he's back for that.
Yeah. And it maybe we shouldn't clutch positives at this. We'll have to see what happens. But Bradley, he is back and firing. He did a good little sub appearance. And Joe Gomez is back in training as well. So if it is a little bit longer, fingers crossed it absolutely isn't, then yeah, there is cover there. We'll await news on Trent. And I mean, the final thing on this one, Grace, that table there where we just look at it, 9 points clear. Massive pressure today on both Arsenal and City if they want to make a race of it realistically, it feels. For us, though, because let's talk about us, did it feel like almost, we've talked about a few fingers, have we nearly got one hand on it now?
Look, 9 points is a significant gap. We always wanted to see what the state of play is when equal games are played. And I think it's the first time in ages that we've been able to gauge sort of where we are whilst the equal games played. Now, obviously, that doesn't last too long because they play Man City today, and that's going to be a huge, huge encounter. But right now, Dave, 9 points is a very, very healthy lead. Now, if Man City get a result today, and if we manage to win our next league game, which I believe is the last ever Merseyside derby played at Goodison, under a rejuvenated Everton, let's not lie about things. They seem rejuvenated under David Moyes. A couple of very important and good wins. But if we manage to get a win, and if Arsenal lose, then I'm ready to say that one hand on the title. Right now, I'll say 3 fingers. I think that's fair. 3 fingers of one hand on the trophy. But if the results go our way today, I think then that's one hand on the title. I don't know what you think.
Yeah, to be fair, I stuck it on you with the question, so it's right. I get the lens turned back on me, isn't it? It's only fair, in all honesty. Yeah, I think it's when I look at it, we're 9 points clear. You think about obviously the fixtures we've had, and you have to remember, as Arsenal fans tell us, Grizz, we've played no one yet, so keep that in mind. We've played no one, so you have to remember all those types of things. It just feels like Arsenal, if you look at their points trajectory, you're going to have a monumental swing to take us, and we're going to have a monumental drop. So the chances of one, never mind both those things happening, don't really feel too likely. So I'm like you, maybe we've not clasped the full hand around it, but we are touching that trophy well and truly now. And there we go. It should feel good all week, people. That result, the way things stand, and you can watch this game today relaxed. And Grizz, we turn to off the field stuff because it's always important we do. Look at them, two handsome bastards in that photo there, aren't we? Dominic Szoboszlai with his arm around Milos Kerkez. Now, it's important we do chat about him because people are thinking, why? Arne Slot mentioned him in the press conference afterwards, Grizz, didn't he? He said, we made the adjustment with Gravenberch because of Kerkez's energy and pace to help Trent down that side because Trent would have had a difficult time, as it proved to be. Arne Slot then gets asked naturally about, Kerkez, have you got interest? A red-hot rumour, it seems, said we don't talk about other players, but the talented boy, no doubts about it at all. Szoboszlai is obviously very lovely pair of teeth, sort of fanning the flames there. If you had, I'm going to stick it on you big time. If you had to bet now, would you say Milos Kerkez will be a Liverpool player in the summer?
No, no, I don't think he will be. That's just my opinion. I have an inkling and a feeling that he's not going to be a target for us come summer. I think he obviously is on a list and obviously has been quoted by reputable journalists as one that we're looking at or looked at. But I think we've got our eyes on a certain Dutchman to be that player and play in that role. A young Dutchman. Is he over Dutch kid?
Yeah, kid, isn't he? Really? Yeah.
In the form of Gerald Hato. That's Arsenal haters. Gerald Hato. I think this guy is a very good player. I think he showed yesterday bundles of energy, Dave.
Yeah.
Like I hope he got tested afterwards. My God, like he was sensational energy up to the last minute. Now, I just think the profile of him is more suited to Jurgen Klopp, Dave. I think since Slot has come in, I think Slot prefers the more technical, calm up type player. And I think Kerkez is a very gung-ho, very energetic, very passionate, plays with a lot of emotions. I just think neither fullback. I mean, it's difficult to say, as I said, he's a fantastic player, don't get me wrong. And I wouldn't say no to him. But I just have a feeling, that he's not a Slot type player. I think he's more of a Klopp type player. But let's see how it goes. As I said, I definitely wouldn't say no to him. Oh yeah, he's definitely, as it's me, he's definitely going to get a move away. I just don't think it will be to Liverpool. But I wouldn't say no.
Yeah, we will have to see what the summer brings. No two ways about it. And while we're talking a little bit about things that are going on, Virgil van Dijk was asked about Mo Salah yesterday, and there was a good little quote that he gave, and maybe we latch on to too many things because of the contracts about Mo Salah. He said, yeah, let's make it more. Let's keep it going. He's obviously been amazing for the football club over the years. I mean, Grizz, these two, we talked about them as elite players. We said how important they are. Into 6 months left to go on the deal. We're still hopeful, but we wouldn't mind some news soon, would we?
Yeah, I don't think it's I don't think it's conceivable that we let sort of them go, especially the seasons that he's having, or they're having, sorry, I should say, especially after it being Slot's first full season in charge. Yeah. It makes no financial sense It makes no business sense, which is obviously related to financial. It makes no sporting sense to let go of two of the greatest players the club has ever had and seen and not be able to agree deals with them. Now, we don't know, and nobody knows the reasons why. Reputable journalists such as Ornstein and Joyce are merely repeating the same thing pretty much every other week in terms of the club are still working, are still talking. I do expect them to stay. But as you say, I guess we would like some clarity, the majority of the fan base. But me personally, I'm past it. I'm genuinely past it. I just want to focus on the campaign in hand and let this take care of itself. And then we can address it and assess it once we know what's actually happened, as opposed to us fretting, having sleepless nights, fluctuating blood pressures about whether they will sign or they won't sign. Because there's literally, you know, the word literal, there's literally nothing we can do about it. All we can do is focus on these mighty Reds and the campaign that we're involved in the 4 campaigns that we're involved in. Because let's not forget, we've got the League Cup to try to turn around as well.
Yeah.
And so that's where my focus is now. I was intrigued and I wanted it resolved, obviously, pre-Christmas. But now, when it comes to the final furlong, I'm going to let the suits deal with it and then assess it. We'll then give an opinion on the factual outcome as opposed to the hearsays, because we've done that to death. That's just my opinion, people. Obviously, everyone each to their own.
Yeah, indeed. There is literally, it's well put, nothing we can do. And I think Arj makes a good point there. I never thought I'd say this. For all the greatness we're talking about with Van Dijk and Salah, the contract talk is a little bit boring at times, isn't it? You just think, yeah, there is a league title to be won. So let's just focus on that. And in terms of the window, and I know people will be hopping and jumping around with this, but the only moves it looks like there's going to be, are we expecting McConnell and Dans to go out on loan probably now, Grizz?
Yeah, I don't know about McConnell, because obviously Arne Slot did mention about how impressive he's been. But I'd still like to think that I don't want to see McConnell again before the end of the season, because that will either indicate a huge loss of form from our current 5 or 6. Excuse me. Or a severe injury crisis.
Yeah.
Now, I'm a fan of McConnell. 2 years ago in pre-season, I got a first glimpse of him and I said, you know what? This guy looks a player. And he's turned out to be a good player. He's had a couple of injuries, setbacks, but I think he's one of the most improved players, academy players at the club. I think he's got a bit of everything. Now, Dan's, I am expecting a loan to be made before the end of the season, especially with the great news that Jota's back, Chiesa's back to fitness. Of course, Nunes came back from illness. So that's our 6th quota of forwards, back to full fitness. So therefore, Jayden Dans, I can definitely see going out on loan. A couple of clubs interested in him. I think Blackburn being another one that's interested in Jayden Dans, and that's a good club because we have history. We've got good history with Elliott and Tyler Morton going there. So that's one I'd keep an eye on. McConnell, I don't know, but I think it's still, I know Slot alluded to him not going, but I think there's still a chance that he may end up going as well. Especially, as I said, if the fitness levels of the other midfielders is fine. We will take it to the last, well, it is tomorrow, isn't it? The last day is tomorrow. So, yeah, interesting on the McConnell situation, especially what Slot said, because I would have thought definite loans. Now I'm saying 50-50 on the McConnell, but I'd say it's quite certain that Dan's goes out on loan, unless there's issues behind the scenes in terms of fitness that we don't know about.
Yeah, I agree, actually. You start looking at it, and I know it's easy to go, we can get minutes in the Cup, and Plymouth comes up. But after Plymouth, I know it's an old mantra, but they all feel like massive games, don't they? It'll be finals, league games. It's really struggling to see where Dans and McConnell are going to get their minutes. And at the same time, probably that is what's needed for the next kick in their career. And as you mentioned, players back, we even got a bit of a Curtis Jones surprise yesterday because he wasn't really mentioned in the press conference on Friday, but there he is, he comes on. So yeah, Chiesa left out the squad completely. It might just be best for them all round. And that one that you did talk about, Grizz, just a small matter of a semi-final second leg coming up. Now, obviously, they beat us 1-0 at the Spurs Stadium, but this Thursday, 8 o'clock, Anfield under the lights. Full strength again for you? Is that what you're expecting?
Yeah, I'd say so. I'd say so, especially with Plymouth a few days later. Gives us that leeway, gives us that scope for change in the Plymouth game, and gives us the fact that it's a Thursday, not a Wednesday, gives us another day in terms of the gap between Saturday and Thursday, which is pretty much a week anyway, and players will be used to that. So I'm expecting a full strength team. Obviously, Trent would probably be the biggest doubt. I doubt if he starts against them. But the rest, I wouldn't argue with. For example, if Jota was to start there, I wouldn't have an issue.
True.
Maybe Diaz a rest or a Gakpo a rest. Maybe Curtis Jones comes in. But apart from that, I don't see. Maybe a Simicast for a Robertson. I don't. But these are very what's the word? Marginal calls.
Yeah.
Then there won't be any major changes or major rotation. Max, I can see 2 changes, I'd say. And that would be very comfortable. I'll be very comfortable with that. But I know we've spoken about sort of the trophies and the campaign of the league is all that matters, and the Champions League is all that matters. I'm getting a bit greedy. I don't know about you, Dave. I want to reach the final of the League Cup, and I want Slot to have a day out at Wembley. So I do really want to smash Spurs and turn this around. So I do want to go for it.
Yeah, and I've been to the last 2 finals at Wembley, and they are some of the best days out, without a shadow of a question. They are just special. And I know it's like you say, you agreed, it's like the league is everything. But, well, you're in the semi-final. This Spurs team under Ange, they are horrendous at the moment. It looks like they've just signed a new player today, but how quickly is he going to be up to speed, even if he is registered? I mean, I'm maybe being super greedy here, Grizz. I actually think we'll beat them and beat them well. That is what's going through my head. That might be overconfidence. What are you feeling with this one?
I've seen your picture of the one you put on thumbnails where you're going like that, and that's me, because it seems like a foregone conclusion, and everyone seems to think we just have to turn up, and the form that they're in and the form we're in, and we just have to turn it around. I think they're geared up for this game. I think the last few weeks they've been focusing all attentions and all minds. This is their last hurrah, so to speak. I think this is the one that possibly even saves or breaks Ange's Spurs managerial career. So I think they've got Romero and Van der Ven back. Apparently, Van der Ven's definitely back. They've got that. I want to say he's been a nemesis in the past, but an annoying element of our past. Richarlison coming back as the striker. And yeah, I'd like to think we can turn it around. How motivated we will be, and in terms of the selection, obviously that will show. But yeah, I'm personally very greedy about this. But I think it may be quite a tense affair. I don't think we'll blow them away and it will be over very early. We may have to, because there's no away goals or nothing, is there, guys? No. So we may have to take this into extra time, possibly even penalties. But let's see how it goes.
Yeah, it will be interesting. The last thing Slot or anyone else will want is extra time. But like you said, we'll have to see how it goes in this one. So there we are, people. Bournemouth vanquished. Not an easy game by any means, but Liverpool come out 2-0 victors, mainly, as we said today, down to the elite players and the difference they make. 9 points clear of the rest. We are watching this Arsenal game versus City. Quite relaxed, aren't we, at the same time? And what will be, will be. All it leaves me to say as ever is Grizz, for the time, the insight. It is much appreciated.
Always a pleasure, never a chore.
And ladies and gents, if you are seeing rival fans of any other team today, just remind them to mind that gap like it says on the screen. But there we go. That was another Daily Red.